Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you for your participation. One information about this webinar. Allora, Q&A, David's Q&A about the business will be in English. And if you have any question about the deal and cost, you can ask them in Italian to me or Barbara Avalle. And we will be happy to answer at the end of the Q&A with David. Okay, I welcome David Maman, CEO and co-founder of Binah, and who will be happy to answer your question. You can write your question in chat or ask David directly. Please.
English or Italian, by the way. Hi, everyone.
Oh, also Italian, perfect.
I have Mr. Vita here to help me with.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay.
Okay.
Please, if okay. Don't be shy.
So
you can begin.
How is the weather in Tel Aviv?
Bellissimo.
Bellissimo. Ottimo.
Okay. Okay, I have a question. Okay. One first question. Can you tell us more about the present clients?
Of course. So today we are focused about 3 types of customers. The first one is actually insurance companies. And the insurance companies, I'm very happy to say that we have a very strong penetration and traction when it comes to the insurance company. So here you can see that we are already working in production with Generali. Germany have already launched. Other countries will launch soon. Sompo in Japan. Sompo is one of the top 5 insurance companies in Japan, already in production for a year. United Health have recently become a customer. Cigna Korea, which is one of the top 3 insurance companies in Korea, is in production. Momentum is probably the 2nd largest insurance company in South Africa, already use our solution in production. HDFC Ergo in India, but more importantly is ICICI. ICICI Lombard is the biggest insurance company in India. 12.8% of the population is insured by ICICI Lombard, and they just launched the solution a week ago to monitor vital signs remotely. Besides those insurance companies, we have additional 25 major insurance companies, from MetLife to Japan Post, Dai-ichi Life, some of the largest in the world that are in the process already. Some of them are in the redlining process. Some of them will take a bit longer, but we expect by the end of the year to be in about 20 out of the top 100 insurance companies in the world. The second type of organizations that we are focused on is a very wide definition of wellness. L'Oreal, for example, L'Oreal is the largest cosmetics company in the world. They just bought our solution SDK to integrate it into L'Oreal apps in order to be able to provide basically stress level measurement in order to define what is the skincare process that you have to take care of. So we are very moving forward in the entire wellness definition, from corporate wellness to mental health to personal wellness capabilities and so on. And the last part of organization is basically, I guess we can define it as remote RPM, remote patient monitoring, and home medical services. So we have quite a few of the companies. You know, AstraZeneca is a pharmaceutical company, but they use it in order to take it to the advantage of monitoring. You can see Toyota, Mitsubishi, and Hitachi Transport System in automotive, but for them is wellness monitoring for service drivers, which means before the taxi driver, bus driver, truck driver, train driver goes to his shift, he needs to do a wellness scan before he leaves home to his shift. So this is also a market that is growing. Besides those companies that you can see here, we have a few other exciting companies. For example, the largest healthcare provider in Israel, its name is Clalit. So they have been a customer now for 6 months. Very soon, they should get a medical approval in Israel by Amar this year. Amar is the Israeli FDA. So once they will get an MR approval this year, they will also make it available for their home hospital solutions and home medical services. So we see that this is also growing. In our roadmap, and this is something very exciting, we should finalize an agreement with HP in order to be part of any released camera in the next week. So we are already been working on that for a year and a half. The same goes to Dell, Lenovo, Huawei, and a lot of different hardware manufacturers that use Binah in order to provide wellness monitoring capabilities as part of the hardware that they sell. So this is also going and expanding. I hope that the answer was wide enough.
Okay, thank you. No, for me, it's enough. Another question is about the valuation. Can you explain the fundamental about the pre-money valuation for this round equal to 100 million?
Yes. So in the world of digital health, this is the market that Binah is part of, about making vital sign extraction and health data available anywhere. The multipliers are between 25, and in the specific cases that we've been able to see raised are up to 50. And when we're talking about the multipliers, it's about ARR and contracted ARR. For example, the contracted ARR that we have with Generali for the upcoming 4 years, it's close to 15 million euro. So we have a great agreement with Generali. The contracted ARR that we have with Clalit, the healthcare service provider in Israel, also for 5 years agreement, in US dollars, it's $3.8 million. So it's important to say that the last round that we officially have done have been in 2019. We have raised $10 million round in a $50 million post-evaluation. And back then we had no customers, we had no revenues, but the market of digital health was on the right direction in 2019. It was in July 2019. So when it comes to the evaluation, the 100 pre, actually at the beginning, also by our lead investor, they wanted us to put a higher price tag, 150 pre, but we decided to lower it to something which we see reasonable, and we have a potential to grow dramatically. In those kind of multipliers of 25 to 50 over ARR, we see this as a reasonable entry price, as we finished last year in over $3 million ARR and $3.6 million in booking, which brings us to the mid of those kind of multipliers, and that's how we decided to move forward with this number.
Just 1 second to be clear, ARR meaning annual recurring revenues.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, David. Okay, another question about your experience, your president's experience. Can you further deepen your previous entrepreneur experience that I have seen an exit event?
Sure. So my previous company was named Hexateer. Hexateer have data compliance and security, specifically for databases and data storage. The company was founded in 2010. And in 2016, it was acquired by Huawei. I was the founder, CTO, and I created the entire technology and led the team. I was also leading the majority of the sales operation as well. This company, actually, in total, we raised close to $22 million, and the acquisition was about 7 times of this number. If we're talking about the total package, what was published is $62 million, but it didn't include all the milestones that the company achieved. So the actually number was almost double from this number. The company was acquired by Huawei, the Chinese, I guess it's not just a telecom company, it's a mobile device company. It's 3G, 4G, 5G, all the main suppliers. And I was, as part of the agreement, I was a consultant after the acquisition, that I had to stay there another day a week for the upcoming year in order to make sure the transition is actually moving forward. And during this time, I actually started Binah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
When the procedure to obtain the approval from FDA in Europe has started. Great. So we started the process a year and a half ago. And it's important to say when people hear FDA or EMA approvals, this is the European CE classes, they think about clinical work. The clinical work is only 15% of the work. The majority of the work is the entire compliance process that you have to implement an EQMS system. You have to comply with multiple ISO standards of medical devices, ISO standards of the different vital signs. So we started the process a year and a half ago when we hired Dr. Shira Simis to lead our regulatory affairs, all the regulatory and compliant affairs. Dr. Shira Simis was leading regulatory affairs in Urnix, which achieved an FDA and EMA to prevent kidney implants. She stayed there 4 years before joining us. And before that, she spent 6 years in Johnson & Johnson. At the current time, we are working internally with Dr. Shira Simis and Dr. Navetov, our Chief Medical Officer, as part of the process. We are also working with the legal firm of Hogan Lovells. Hogan Lovells is the largest FDA legal firm in the United States. And as part of this process, we expect to get first 2 approvals this year in 2022, not just submission, I'm talking about approvals. So 2 first approval in 2022, and we expect another 2 to 4 approvals next year, which are going to be dedicated for the oxygen saturation and blood pressure that requires a different types of submission. Basically, we need to do a submission of what's called the pre-submission for PMA and de novo. So heart rate and respiratory rate, we're going to have a 510K class 2 approval this year. On SpO2 and blood pressure, it's going to be what's defined as a de novo PMA submission because there are no predicates, so it's going to be a longer process. So we expect those to be approved next year. Besides EMA and FDA, we are also in the final advanced processes with PMDA in Japan. PMDA, we got an approval for a special path by the Japanese government. And the special path means that we are applicable to finalize a submission without going through all the PMA process, which means a longer process to get an approval for in the Japanese market. The reason is we got this approval because we are working with our partner, which is called ALAM, ALLM.net, which you can check it out. And ALAM is already an app that is used by all the government and federal organizations in Japan. So once it will be approved, we are going to be part of the formal government app in Japan. So that's a huge change for us moving forward. And we have a few different partners that are already working on submission and approvals. In Nepal, it was already approved as a class 2 medical device. We are working on the same process also in Singapore with the STA. We are working in India now with also one of our partners. So I think with time, once we'll get the first serious one like PMDA, FDA, or EMA, it will also push forward a lot of others. I see a follow-up questions regarding, does the evaluation already reflected the future approvals? No, the evaluation does not reflect that. And you can see that all the different multipliers and valuation do not take into consideration FDA approvals because the majority of wellness solution does not go to an FDA approval. They are defined as wellness. Once we get an approval, the evaluation will be going much, much higher.
Yes, maybe one question to David about these alliances and the effort that you're making towards the approval on the EMA, because we have spoken with Generali, and we understand that given the fact that Binah is an SDK into their application, they are also in parallel already going towards such approval. So can you explain us a little bit more? This is a big advantage.
Of course. So the thing about an EMA approval is that EMA approval have to include everything: the user experience, the design of the application, the delivery, what you do with the data. So any kind of regulatory approval have to include everything. So when we provide an SDK to Generali, Generali will have to conduct their own submission in order to have Generali app, because Generali app purpose and data have a few different kind of concepts and ideas about what to do with the data. We decided to pursue a path by ourselves because once we can approve an app by Binah, The Binah app is called Visual Vitals. Once we approve it for EMA approval, then the process for Generali, not Generali because Generali are doing everything by themselves, but for the next customers in Europe and customers that support the EMA approvals will be much, much shorter. Basically, they will need to do just a usability study about how their app looks like and what they do with the data. But all the clinical work will be based on a predicate on our approval. So it will make other organization submission for EMA to be very smooth and without any need to do any clinical work. Generali, as you said, have already started the process and they will get their own medical EMA approval for the Generali app.
Okay, thank you. And one question, how the FDA and EMA approval time issue will impact your business plan expansion?
So we decided that in this year, until we won't get FDA, we do not build a pipeline that is based on FDA. So now we are selling solutions that are defined as wellness, which you do not need a medical approval. Please keep in mind that, a lot of time we don't take it into consideration, but any kind of a wearable device, Fitbit, Garmin, Apple Watch, Whoop, Sunto, none of them have a medical approval. They are defined as wellness. So we are, as part of the entire pipeline that we've built, we are focusing on a non-medical approval. Once medical approvals is approved, we will be expanding the pipeline also to a medically approved required market. Keep in mind that all of the insurance companies that I shared with you, none of them require the medical approval for wellness monitoring or underwriting for healthy people.
Okay. And another question is about which are the lead investor of this round?
Sure. The lead investor is iAngels. iAngels have been our investors since the first round, since the beginning of Binah. We wanted someone internal to lead in order to make the process smoother and in order to move faster. They also been doing, of course, due diligence each and every round that we have conducted with them, from a business due diligence to a technology due diligence, and all the papers are also available.
Can you tell more about iAngels? Because
sure. So iAngels is, I think, the smaller brother of Our Crowd. Our Crowd is very famous to be the largest crowdfunding company in the world, no doubt about it. So iAngels is an Israeli iAngel fund, crowdfunding fund. iAngels have invested in close to 200 companies. They had 21 exits so far. They have been active for the past 5.5 years. And you can check iangels.com and to see their portfolio, to see their exits, to see the revenue. In total, they've invested quite a few hundreds of millions of dollars so far. It's growing. The entire investment community is growing.
Are smart money or simply money? Is it only financing or also smart money? They give you some help to grow?
Oh yeah, they are doing a very interesting introduction for us and also introducing us to major high-end partners, also from the insurance industry. So yes, they're also helpful for us to grow, but also they're not too intrusive for the way of working. Yes. I see a question. Should I answer just question I see in the chat? It's okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Can you identify a potential exit path? When and from which industry? So the type of industry that we see a potential exit is actually 3 different industry types. One is probably the highest potential is one of the big, we can call it high-tech companies. High-tech companies is Facebook, Google, Microsoft. We see also Tencent as a serious player because we see all of those companies are moving forward to having more and more health and wellness capabilities. Everyone understands that health data is going to be a commodity. We just signed an NDA with Facebook, So we really hope to close a deal with them so they will be able to use Binah's SDK, and it will be a first step towards this kind of a direction. The second kind of industry is pharmaceutical industries. The pharmaceutical industries, all of them are investing a lot of money on digital health solution, and they're starting to acquire a lot of company. The idea that an organization will have health data for the pharmaceutical industry dramatically changes the way of how they develop drugs, how they test drugs, how they improve their service, and how they actually hire new customers, because they can actually scan and find problems. So pharmaceutical industry is also moving forward very fast. And the last part, we see also a potential exit is actually the major reinsurer, not just the insurance companies, because when we work with insurance companies, and if all goes well, we will work with 20 of the top 100 by the end of this year. But the reinsurer works with thousands of insurance companies, thousands and thousands. So we are in discussion with Zurich Re, with Munich Re, and with Swiss Re, and all those three major reinsurers, of course, they're coming from Europe, are also a potential for an exit, because having the lead of extracting health data dramatically reduces the risk management from a reinsurer perspective. So those are the three industries. Regarding timeline, I guess this is a discussion that can be made in Q3 or Q4 next year, because I think that by then we are aiming to get to between $15 to $25 million ARR, and this as with the multipliers of 25 to 50 on digital health companies, we believe it will even grow higher. It will be a worthwhile discussion.
Okay, and do you think it will be necessary to do another round before to have an acquisition, or do you think?
So the only we don't plan to do additional round, but the only reason why we will do a serious round, raising 100 million or anything like that, is only if it's with a perfect partner that as part of the investment, it will also partner with us to make it available anywhere. Now that we're about to close a deal with HP, the first deal with HP, we're talking about a few hundreds of thousands of licenses the first year, second year, a few million licenses. It's a new camera line that they will be releasing this year. So as part of the camera is going to be wellness. So we just started talking with HP Investment. And with HP Investment, we told them, listen, we will take your investment, let's say in a few months or 6 months, only if we will be part of all HP laptops. So if we will be part of all HP laptops, that means they sell 55 million laptops a year. If we take $1 license per laptop, we're already talking about $55 million ARR every year growth. So that means that the reason why we'll do this kind of round, if we will get this kind of commitment, that it comes with your ability to invest in Binah, but it also demands to have a partnership with a very detailed planning of growth. But besides that, no, we are not planning to make any investment just for the money.
Okay, thank you. One question for David Vita. What are the check you made about Binah and his clients? With
sorry?
No, David Vita. Well, how many check do we have?
No. So essentially what we did was align on 3 different perspectives. Okay, so the first one was to talk to the company and to look and essentially with the CFO to look where they were with their financial situation. And even before that, we need to understand that everything was checked again and again, not only by the co-investors now, but also by our crowd, who is putting money there for the 3rd time. So they already put 350, they already put 400, and now they're putting, they declare to put 1% at least of what will be raised in this round. Then what we really focused on to 2 directions. One was to talk to Generali, which is one of the customer. And I have to say that I was almost, I would say, surprised by the passion that I felt in Generali, and by how they were really working together with Binah and progressing into what they have now created as their own software based on the Binah SDK. The other side that we took to look on is the IP, and we worked with the person that is in charge of the IP. And we understand that they have 4 PCR and 1 on the way, plus another 2 on the way. And the situation is that the claims, the first claims done, are coming back, and quite a lot of them are approved. So we have a feeling that it is very clear that Binah is building a wall composed of all these different claims that will make it very, very difficult for any newcomer to compete with them. This is a little bit.
Yeah, thank you, David.
And for any other questions, I mean, I'm here and we can talk to.
And this question, what protects Binah's solution from competitors?
So I think we have a very dedicated and optimized competitive edge of Binah. I think that from a business perspective, our COGS is close to 0. And I think this is a very important thing, that from a pricing strategy, there are no limitation on the expansion of our customers, because all the processing of Binah is running on the edge device, which means that the technology itself does not require a supportive cloud infrastructure. And because it doesn't require that, so we don't care if it's a customer with 1,000 users or 100 million users, the cost for Binah is the same. And the great thing about it, that from a business perspective, no one can compete with that, because for them, for every additional user, they need a more processing power on the cloud. So we spend a lot of time to make sure everything running on the device. From additional 3 major things, we are the only company that scans vital signs from your finger or from your face. Second thing, we're the only company in this kind of a field and market. And even though we've been able to spot 2 other competitors, one named Lifelight from the UK, one named Neurologics from China and Canada. And those kind of companies have, even though both of them are 10 years running now, none of them have submitted anything to any kind of a medical facility or did any kind of a claims to medical regulation process. So we are aiming to make sure everything is positioned as a medical solution. The third thing is that we are providing a raw data, because we run on the edge device, of information that can allow customers to develop their own additional biomarkers. We provide a raw data of heart rate variability, what is referred as RR intervals. So for example, Hitachi Transport System from Japan have developed their own accumulated fatigue feature. The only way they can do the accumulated fatigue feature by us providing them the HRV raw data. So the great thing about it is that we are not only giving our own vital signs and biomarkers to customers. Customers actually can research and develop their own vital signs using the capability that we do. And the last important thing is that we are completely agnostic to the architecture of the hardware. You know, we are already working on smartphone, browsers, laptop, tablets, smart mirror. We have 2 customers that integrated Binah solution on smart mirror. CareOS from France, for example, already integrated Binah into their smart mirror. So we're not limited to those kind of capabilities. 3 specific customers that we have today: GoGetDoc from the US, PickRe from Hong Kong, and also Momentum. All 3 have evaluated the solution by Binah, by Neurologics, and yet decided to work with Binah. So those are real major organizations. All 3, only Momentum and PickRe are in the Fortune 1000, but GoGetDoc is a smaller company from the US. All of them have evaluated very seriously a competitor before they met us. And only after evaluating us as well, they chose to use Binah. Where is the R&D? Where is your R&D going? So when it comes to the roadmap, please correct me if I'm wrong if you're talking about R&D. So from an R&D perspective, we are focusing on 3 major challenges. One is adding more and more biomarkers and vital signs. We are finalizing now a research on lipids, hemoglobin, and cholesterol. So we believe that those 3 will be available next year. So we are conducting a data collection process and a full research on that. Second thing, about running at the background, which means how your smartphone will be able to do scans while you are going through Gmail or watching videos or watching Instagram. We will be able to extract all the information running at the background. And the third thing is, in order to make the, I guess we can call it the value-added information, we are now releasing our Binah Wellness Score, but we will also be releasing risk level on each and every vital and on multiple medical condition. So this is where we're heading. R&D is the majority, the big, today they are the biggest part of the company. Out of about 70 employees, over 50 are R&D team. So the R&D entirely is located in Israel, in Tel Aviv. So you're all welcome to visit next time you're in Israel, of course. Thank you.
Thank you. And one question about the name of Binah. Where does the name Binah come from?
So the word Binah is actually a biblical word from the Old Testament, which is called intelligence. So Binah is equivalent to intelligence. And if you really analyze the biblical literature, it's actually the move from intelligence into wisdom. So this is the word Binah. Hebrew, you know, is just intelligence, but in the biblical, it's a meaning the move from intelligence into wisdom. Yes,
so
David.
השורש, מהו השורש?
בינה?
לא, בינות.
אני מעניין, לא יודע.
No, but Hebrew word go by roots of letters. And we were trying to figure out what is the root of that. If it is, it's not from to build, but it's very interesting. I didn't know the passage from one to the other, from intelligence to knowledge in some way. Interesting.
Yeah. By the way, something very interestingly, in Farsis, the language that they talk in Iran, Binah means the person that foresees the future. And I found that only after talking with someone from Iran that he thought that we're an Iranian company because of the word Binah is used there a lot. Okay. So in Farsis, it's the person who sees to the future.
There's a comment. It's one of a Sephirot in the Kabbalah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Wow.
You're right, Sergio. Yeah. It's one of the bases of the Kabbalah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Chokhmah, Binah, Vadat. Yeah.
Okay. There are other questions? Okay. I speak in Italian to make a recap. Ok, volevo ricordarvi che ovviamente tutte le informazioni sia del check che ha fatto David Vita su generali e sui clienti e sulle IP le abbiamo caricate in piattaforma, nonché in piattaforma ci sono tutte le spiegazioni sia del processo tecnico e della tecnologia che David che Binah ha sviluppato, i clienti e il business plan su cui appunto si fonda il fundraising. Come ha detto David, non è, probabilmente non ci sarà un altro round, loro si aspettano un potenziale evento di liquidità, comunque cominciare a ragionare su una potenziale exit alla fine del 2023, a meno che non ci sia un partner industriale particolarmente forte con cui invece poter immaginare una crescita molto più elevata rispetto a quello che è con questo round. Hanno firmato un NDA con Facebook perché potrebbe essere uno dei potenziali, ovviamente, potenziali acquirenti, proprio perché tutti sono alla ricerca di dati e di soluzioni, e la cosa molto importante di Binah è il fatto che in questo momento non ha ancora, cioè non sta approcciando il mondo dei medical devices, quindi ricordiamoci che si è assunto, cioè tutti i vari competitor che utilizzano, diciamo, delle soluzioni similari, non necessariamente questo, cioè di monitoraggio dei dati, di wellness, non hanno nessun tipo di approvazione di FDA o di EMA, e questo invece che Binah sta facendo potrebbe proiettarla veramente in un'altra dimensione di valutazione. Hanno già revenue, quindi un anno clienti e revenue, e quindi la valutazione che è appunto di 100 milioni di dollari è un multiplo di quello che è le revenue che loro hanno già, diciamo, contrattualizzate nel corso sia di quest'anno che dei flussi attesi il prossimo anno. Ricordo che data l'eccezionalità di questo deal, il fundraising è molto veloce, nel senso che la termine è a fine mese e non prevediamo di allungarlo, perché Binah David ci ha chiaramente detto che vogliono chiudere questo round per poter spingere sulla crescita e quindi andare avanti nel 2022, e quindi niente, quindi il termine è probabilmente fine mese. Ok. Se avete domande riguardo ai costi e a tutta la gestione del deal, vi ricordo che David Vita sarà il nostro presidio in Israele, quindi sarà il nostro trade union, quindi il solito schema di Doro, cioè abbiamo costituito un veicolo italiano che di diritto italiano, che quindi farà l'investimento nel veicolo di Our Crowd, e quindi per tutta la parte amministrativa saremo noi ad occuparci, cioè il nostro veicolo che avrà diciamo la partecipazione, quindi per tutto quello che è la gestione amministrativa sarà tutto comunque su una società di diritto italiano, e appunto per qualunque tipo di questioni o di curiosità o appunto di informazioni su quello che è il business di Binah, c'è David che appunto, essendo in loco, sarà, come dire, il nostro presidio. Poi chiaramente David Maman, se ci vuole ospitare, noi siamo, come ci ha già invitato, noi siamo ben felici di andare a trovare a Tel Aviv. Ok.
Izminait kulam. She invited everybody.
Yes.
Okay. We have a big office.
Ok, perfect. Ok. Se non ci sono altre domande, if there are no other questions, I would like to thank David.
Thank you very, very much, everyone.
And remind you that the fundraiser is closing at the end of this month.